Hello everyone, my name is Shruti Vijayavargiya and my topic is Excel financial function. In the previous video, I discussed about the asset depreciation functions and two functions of this AMORDEGRC and AMORLINC. And in this video, I am discussing the three functions DB, DDB and SLN. So the first function is DB, which is used for calculating depreciation using the declining balance method. The declining balance method of calculating depreciation accelerates the rate at which an asset loses its value over time. So you use the DB function to calculate depreciation with the declining balance method in Excel. The declining balance method is so named because it reduces an asset's value by the amount it depreciated in the previous years. You then calculate the new depreciation based on that lower value, hence the name declining balance method. So the DV function has 5 arguments. The first one is the cost and is the cost which is the initial cost that you pay for the asset. The next we have salvage value. Salvage is what you can sell the asset for as a scrap. Then we have the economic life, which is the number of periods over which the asset is being depreciated. That is sometimes called the useful life of the asset. Next we have the period for which you want to calculate the depreciation. Period must use the same units as life. Next we have month, which is an optional argument. If the month argument is supplied, this should be an integer that specifies how many months of the year are used in the calculation of the first period. If month is omitted, it is assumed to be 12. So let's understand this function with the help of an example. I have an example of Excel DB function. So this is the cost of an asset. Suppose a asset cost of 10,000. Its salvage value is 1,000 and the life of an asset is 10 years. So we calculate the depreciation value for all the 10 years by using the formula of DB function. I just select the cell, type an equal sign, select the DB function, left parenthesis, then pass the references of all the arguments. First one is the cost, second one is the salvage value, next is the life of an asset, next period, which is first is calculated for the first year, then close the parenthesis and enter. So the depreciation value after first period will be 2060. I just putting dollar sign in front of every cell reference so that I just don't need to write the formula again and again. I just copy it for all the cells. So the value for all the 10 years will be this. So this is the depreciation value using DB function. The next function is the DDB. This function is used for calculating the double declining balancing method. It is a double declining balance method. The declining balance method of calculating depreciation enables companies to accelerate the rate at which they claim the tax benefits inherent in asset depreciation. As the name implies, the double declining balance depreciation method doubles the rate at which the declining balance method calculates an asset's depreciation. So to calculate the double declining balance method, you use the DDB function. So DDB function has 5 arguments. The 4 arguments are the same as DB function. The last one is the factor. First is the cost. Cost is the initial cost of an asset. Next is the salvage. The salvage value, this is the value for which you sell the asset as scrap at the end of its economic life. Life, that is the number of periods over which the asset is being depreciated and also called the useful life of an asset. Then the fourth argument is the period. This is the period for which you want to calculate the depreciation. Period must use the same units as life. And next we have the factor, which is other than the DB function. It is an optional argument. The factor allows you to identify how quickly you want the declining balance method to work. And if factor is omitted, it is assumed to be 2 and it denotes the double declining balance method. If you want the triple declining balance method, then you pass the value for factor will 3. So it will show triple declining balance method. So let's understand it with the help of an example. I have an example of DDB function. This is the cost of an asset, which is 2400. Its salvage value will be 300 and the life of an asset will be 10. So the depreciation for all the 10 years will be calculated using DDB function. Place the Select the cell, type an equal sign, select the function DDB, then passes the references of all arguments. First one is the cost and comma, salvage value, comma, life, comma, and period 1. And I am not passing factor because I am using DDB function for the double declining method, and then enter. So after first period the value will be 480. So this value will be subtracted from the cost and this will the value after 1 year. After 1 year the value of an asset will be 2400 minus 480. So this will be the asset cost after first period. So for all the periods we can calculate value. I'm putting dollar sign in front of cell so that I do not have to write the function again. It will copy for all the cells. So after 10 years, this will be the cost depreciated value for an cost 2400. So this is how DDB function works. The double declining balance method assigns a high percentage of an asset's depreciation to the first part of its economic life. As with the declining balance method, companies can use their depreciation and related tax savings to invest in other areas. Next function is SLN, and this function calculating depreciation using the straight line method. This is a straight line method, the most straightforward method you can use to calculate depreciation is the straight line method. As the name implies, a straight line method assigns depreciation evenly over the economic life of the asset. The starting amount is the asset's purchase price and ending value is the asset's salvage value. To calculate straight line depreciation, we use the SLN function. The SLN function calculates the amount of depreciation for a given period, which is usually a year. For a given period, which is usually a year, that means it calculates for every year's value. And this function takes only three arguments. First one is the cost, it is the initial cost of an asset. The second one is the salvage value, which is the amount at which you could sell the item for a scrap, and then the economic life. Let's understand it with an example. I have an example of SLN function. Suppose you bought a truck for $30,000 and its useful life is 10 years and a salvage value of 7,500. So the depreciation allowance for each year will be, select the SLN function, Then pass the references of cell. First one is the cost, then salvage, then life, and enter. So depreciation allowance each year will be 2250. So after 1 year, this value, the value of a truck will be this, that is 27,750. And if you want to calculate salvage depreciation for 10 years, after 10 years the cost will be this 2775. So what I do, I take the cost and subtract its depreciation and divide it by 10. So this is the value for an asset after 10 years. So this is how these functions works. If you have any queries, you can ask me, and if you like my videos, then thumbs up. Thanks.